So we have just wrapped up our 2023 travel. We made a lot of distance this year.
We did a lot this year. We spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia. We spent some time in Central Europe, in Italy, Turkey. We did a lot, and we're going to break down everything that we spent our money on and how much we spent right now.
So in this video, we are going to include, when we say everything, it is everything. So it is going to include any of our transportation, it includes our health care, it includes our eating out, it includes our accommodation. Anything that we spent money on is in this video. So we started our year in Southeast Asia and we made our way to Thailand. Now the first expense we had was our flight, which isn't inexpensive to make our way there. So it was $1,119 to get from Seattle to Bangkok.
Now that sounds like a lot, which it is. We're not used to spending that much on flights, but we got to get there. Now we stopped, like we said, in Bangkok, and we thought we were flying in just for maybe, just to get there. But we found Bangkok very enjoyable, and it's one of our favorite cities now.
Yeah, so we spent 7 days in Bangkok, and we stayed in the RE district, and we absolutely love that area. And if you didn't watch our top destination video, Bangkok rated way up there on the list, so maybe check that out. But we really enjoyed our time there.
We really did enjoy it, and we really enjoyed our Airbnb. It was right in the middle of everything we needed, especially that street food. But that Airbnb cost us $683.
Yeah, and that was $683 actually for all of our expenses in Bangkok. So when we give you the city expense, it's going to be everything we spent in that city. Now next we headed to Chiang Mai, so we flew there. To us that's the best option. We know you can take a train, but they're a long train. So that cost us $130 to fly from Bangkok to Chiang Mai.
Now one thing to be aware of before we get too far into this video is these prices are for a couple. We know we have solo travelers that watch this channel. We will break down and give you the price of what it would cost a solo traveler at the end of the video. But we did make our way to Chiang Mai. Love Chiang Mai. Chiang Mai, we had a lot of people tell us to go to Chiang Mai, so your expectations were really high.
Yeah.
They did not disappoint.
Not at all.
We had a really good time. We were there for 28 days. All the food, our accommodations, everything we spent our money on. The massages. Yeah, we had a few massages.
They're about $12 each.
$12 each. My haircut. All of it came to $1,464.
Yeah, and we loved our accommodations there. We stayed in the Naman district, which is kind of your upper end, more modern district. Everything just right outside the doorstep. We could get our food. We could get, my little fruit stand was right outside there. Massages right across the road. Yeah, everything that we needed. So now we're leaving Thailand and we're heading to Vietnam. We flew from Chiang Mai to Hanoi, and that was $104.
Yeah, now we were only there for 2 days, and it was a whirlwind. It was very fast.
And it's chaotic.
A lot going on, cheap beer. You can't go wrong for at least 2 days in Hanoi. $126 is all we spent in those 2 days, and that includes our hotel and everything we ate.
And eating out. It's incredibly inexpensive in Vietnam, we found. So this is our first taste of that.
If you want to find a North Face jacket, that might be your place to do it.
Now, while in Vietnam and near Hanoi, we knew there was a bucket list item we wanted to go do, and that was a Halong Bay cruise. Now, we chose to do the 2-day or 2-night, 3-day cruise, which we would highly recommend doing, but this was for sure a splurge item for us.
Yeah, we normally wouldn't spend money this way, but we did save for it. We planned for it well, it was on our list for a couple of years anyway, so we had the opportunity to do it, so we took it, and we don't regret it. The 2 nights, 3-day cruise in Halong Bay for the two of us was $769.
Right, and that included our transport from Hanoi to Halong Bay, so it definitely was a splurge, but we're happy that we did it.
Yeah, no regrets.
So after our cruise, we decided to head down the coast to Da Nang. Now, during this time, we only had 30 days to stay in Vietnam. Since this time, it has now changed and you get a longer amount of time there, but we really had to kind of fit a lot into that 30 days.
Yeah, so we only spent 26 days in Da Nang, and well worth it. It's one of my favorite places. If we were to stay somewhere for 3 months, I think I could pull it off. Carrie has other places that she prefers better, but with that being said, it is a pretty cool city.
It's very cool.
Yeah, so take it in if you have a chance.
Right. So our flight from Halong Bay to Da Nang was only $60, and while we were actually in Da Nang, we went to Hoi An, which really topped our list as well. We only spent 2 nights while we were there, so our full cost for Da Nang includes that cost that we spent for the 2 nights in Hoi An as well.
The whole 26 days, including food and everything we did, it's $1,340.
So our time here was now up in Vietnam. We have to get out, so we decided to head back to Thailand. We were craving some Thai food. We hop on a flight from Da Nang and we head to Koh Samui. Now our flight for both of us was $308. So a little bit much, honestly, it's not that far but getting out to the island of Koh Samui just runs you a little bit more money.
Yeah, it's owned by Bangkok Airlines, so they can charge what they want.
They kind of have a monopoly on it.
Monopoly. It's not astronomical, but it's still going to cost you a little bit more than you might expect. Now, when we got there, we stayed near Fisherman's Village, which we would highly recommend. We toured the island, and we got to see kind of the hot spots, and we still came back, and we were happy with where we stayed. We had a small studio style.
Yeah, it ended up being more of a studio style.
Right.
But we liked the condo that we were in. It served the purpose for the time. We wouldn't necessarily, some people have asked for the link for it. We wouldn't highly recommend it unless you have a vehicle to get to and from, because it wasn't as easily accessible as we hoped to the other towns. So, but we liked it, and it would, price-wise, we had a great pool. It was a good place to be for a month.
Yeah, it worked for us. And it only cost us $1,464.
Which really, beach life for a month.
It was
eating really good
We were
food.
happy with the price, I'll put it to you that way.
Next, we head over to Phuket, an area that people had suggested that we probably avoid more than go to, but really, we had some time because we already had some places booked, and we decided we'd just go and hang out and spend some time there.
Yeah, and we picked Kamala Beach. Now, again, we toured around the island a little bit, and we were really happy we stayed where we did. We loved our accommodation. It was a hotel.
Beautiful.
We were there for 10 days, so we did have house cleaning daily, which we really like. We had food nearby, which street food, pad thai, is my go-to, and we found some great places to go.
Yeah, we did. So our flight heading from Koh Samui over to Phuket was $208. Once again, Bangkok Airlines has a monopoly, so you pay a bit more. So when we're talking about how it costs us more, if you were going there, the going on and going off of that island for 1 month stay, you add that into your monthly expenses, it does really start to add up.
Yeah. So our entire cost for Phuket, food, accommodations,
For 11 nights.
for 11 nights, was $720.
Now, in that cost, we also went on a day trip and went to Maya Bay, which was another kind of splurge for us. We really enjoyed that, though, and highly recommend if you're there. You kind of have to get out of that area and go see some of those places that they're known for.
Yeah, that's still a highlight of mine this last year. Snorkeling with those sharks.
The mini baby sharks.
With those sharks. If you missed that episode, it might be worth watching because it was...
Sympathy time is over.
I almost died.
Okay, so our time in Thailand is now up, and we decide to head into Malaysia. We head to Penang. So our flight to Penang was $113. Not too bad, but unfortunately when we got to Penang, it was rather disappointing. It ended up being a place that we only spent a few days instead of the month we originally had planned.
Yeah, that was the low light of the year. Went from highlights to low lights within a couple days. But it is what it is. Sometimes those things happen when you're traveling full time, and it happened to us. So the price for that disappointing short stay was $200.
Yeah, so it's $200, 3 nights. More than we would have liked to spend. But anyways, from there we now move on to Kuala Lumpur. We changed our plans. We originally only planned on staying in Kuala Lumpur for a week. We decided to change our plans, and we ended up being there for a month. We didn't dislike Kuala Lumpur. It just isn't our style of a place. We really just, I don't know. It's just too big city maybe for us.
It was big city. We didn't get to the outskirts like many do. So there are other things to do that we chose not to. We already splurged for the first 6 months of our travels. So, you know, we decided to get some work done, and it was the perfect place for that.
Well, and we stayed in a really nice condo. It's a very highly known condo complex when you're looking on Airbnb or any of the booking sites. It is a place that you're going to see commonly listed. But we ended up, I think one of the disappointments to Malaysia in general for us is that it really wasn't as it wasn't as affordable as being like in Thailand and Vietnam. It really stepped up the pricing, which you'll see here in a second with our prices.
It was also extremely hot and muggy. Now, that happened to be the time of year we were there.
Right.
But we might have been a little bit on the cranky side as well. So the 28 days we spent in Kuala Lumpur cost us $2,196.
Yeah. So if you just go back to our last stays that were month-long stays, considerably more, and especially for a place that I guess we just weren't as happy to be. So, but that's okay. Live and learn.
Live and learn.
So when we originally booked our flights, we booked a round trip flight, but two different. We came into Bangkok and then we were leaving out of Singapore. We really never intended to stay in Singapore because the cost is quite expensive. But we had just had so many recommendations from people that you really need to see Singapore. We have zero regrets. We were so glad we did it. We stayed 3 nights there. Now we took a bus from Kuala Lumpur to Singapore, which was a super easy bus ride, and would highly recommend doing that. And just to note, all of our buses, the only thing that we're going to give you the breakdown cost of that's separate is going to be our plane tickets. But the buses and trains and all of that kind of stuff is always just included in that monthly cost.
Right. So 3 nights in Singapore with a very tiny little room.
Call it a closet.
It was basically a closet. Still worth going. We spent $520.
Yeah, and that $520, like I said, included the little closet, but that was in a really good neighborhood, so it was location that we were paying for. But it also included a few beers that we got that were about $12 to $14 each.
Yeah, they were expensive beers, so there was not a whole lot of beer drinking.
Yeah, but fortunately in Singapore there is so much free activities to go do that we didn't have to pay to get into anything, so we stayed entertained. So now it's time to head home, which we do about every 5 months or so. We left from Singapore, we headed back to Seattle, and that cost for us, that flight was $1,118.
And it took about 40 hours.
It was so long
to get there.
Yeah.
So Singapore to Seattle, I wouldn't recommend it, but
it's just long. Yeah, it's long. We enjoyed we did make good use of the lounges.
We got our lounges in, that's for sure. So arriving at home is always a good time for us. For me, it's for about 3 weeks. Carrie likes to be home a little bit longer than that. I'm ready to go after that amount of time. Now, we were home for 46 days, and in those 46 days, we managed to spend $900. Now, that didn't include any rent or anything like that because we stay with house sits or with friends or family. So that is just food and gas, really. Food
and gas, and just kind of stocking up on anything that we need to take back out on the road with us that we buy when we're home. All right, so now we are on to the second part of the year, and we were on an exciting adventure to explore Central Europe, where we were going to kind of move around a little bit quicker. So we flew from Seattle to Krakow, Poland, and that was $768.
Yeah, and we were excited to go. Again, we heard a lot about it, and it did not disappoint.
Oh, we loved it.
We need to get back to Poland and travel that area differently than we did this time.
Spend a little bit more time.
Now in Krakow, we stayed 4 nights in an Airbnb, and it cost us $418.
Yeah, and you know, you're going to see in the pricing for this time when we're moving faster, it did cost us more. We had planned on that from our costs that we saved by being in Southeast Asia. But yeah, we loved Krakow. We loved the food. This was our first introduction to Polish food. It was also to Polish beer. We enjoyed all of it. Unfortunately, the weather wasn't great, but we made the best of it. Now from Krakow, we went to Wrocław. We were there for 3 nights. This was a much quieter little town. And at this point, we have now moved on to where all of our stays past here for this fast moving will be in hotels, which we typically don't do, and mainly because it's typically quite expensive. So our time in Wrocław ended up being $493.
Yeah, it was enjoyable, but a little more expensive than what we like to spend.
Yeah.
From there, we moved on to the Czech Republic, where again, we hear everything about the beer, right? Our first stop was in Brno. Now, logistically, it made sense to go to Brno. We very much enjoyed it. We stayed in a hotel right in the middle of everything we needed for 4 nights again. And that hotel cost us $672.
So it was a hotel, but it was also everything, like we said. And this also included, we went to Vienna. We did a day trip to Vienna. So that cost is in there as well. So as it does seem high, we feel like during this time, we did some day trips and we saw a lot for what we were spending.
Right. And that hotel also included breakfast. Forgot to say that a second ago.
An amazing
But it was an
breakfast.
amazing breakfast, and it was worth the $472.
Yeah. Well, from there, we now head to Prague. We were in Prague for 4 nights as well. We stayed in a really nice hotel up on the hill. We really enjoyed our time in Prague.
Yeah.
It was busy. It was right in the middle of the summer, so it definitely was crowded.
Yeah, the hill we walked up wasn't that enjoyable, but the city itself was fantastic. We had a great time.
We did. And so our hotel there, and being that it's Prague, and all of our costs and eating out wasn't really inexpensive, was $687. But I will add that did include, we went on a beer brewery tour.
Beer brewery experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which was a lot of fun. We got free beer.
I liked it.
Well, we paid for the beer.
We paid
but
for
it was
the
kind
beer,
of
kind of through the ticket. From there, we're off to Germany. Our first stop was Nuremberg. 4 nights in Nuremberg. Cute little town.
It was a cute town.
Yeah,
It's a definitely a more sleepy town. It's not as touristy. So honestly, if you've been somewhere like we had just been in Prague and you are looking for a place that's maybe not so busy, it was a perfect stop for us. Once again, unfortunately, the weather wasn't really cooperating as much as we would have liked, but it was our first. We just got our first introduction right into German food, and so we really loved it.
It was very picturesque, so we had a good time. Now the cost there for those 4 nights was $668.
So once again, the Central Europe places were probably really pricey.
We're more expensive than we're used to spending. We'll say it that way.
So next we make our way to Munich. We ended up staying in Munich for 5 nights for a total cost of $1,021. Munich definitely had a little more sticker shock than any of the other locations, but this also did include a day trip back into Austria. We went to Salzburg, so that's in there as well.
So there's a lot to do in Munich. We couldn't do it all in the amount of time that we were there. We also found some of the other day trips that we would have liked to have taken were a little bit of a stretch to get to, and they would have cost us more money as well. So Munich, all in all, was a great experience. 5 nights might have been too much.
A little bit too much for us. We kind of had mentioned maybe 3 nights would be perfect.
Yeah. So from Munich, Germany, we're off to Milan, Italy via bus. And, if you've never taken that route over into Italy, it's everything you could think of.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, the bus ride itself didn't cost that much, but the 3 nights in Milan might have.
Yeah.
So we spent $628 in Milan.
Yeah. Once again, we had a hotel room. When you're staying these short stays, you really want to make sure that you're getting a place that's close right in the city center, which isn't usually our goal when we're at a place for a month, because we don't have to be right in the city center. So you do pay a little bit more price there. We did have kind of a really cool historic building. Breakfast was included in that, so that was nice. And we were only a couple-minute walk to the main city center, which, if you haven't been to Milan, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's
absolutely beautiful.
So well worth it.
So now we're headed to our longer stay in Italy, which I was excited for. I think we both were at this point.
We were both ready.
We were tired of moving every couple of days, and we head to Florence. Now, we spent 28 days in Florence. Florence was absolutely a perfect place to centralize yourself to get to all of those areas around you. So it really was great that way, but it comes with a huge price tag, especially being right in the center of the summertime.
Yeah, I think we figured at one point we spent more in Florence for a month than we did 2 months in Thailand and Vietnam.
Yeah, I mean, just even when you hear this number, if you go back and look at our other amounts, we spent a lot of money in Florence.
Yeah, we spent $2,835 that month in Florence.
That was a hefty price tag, but it's a month in Florence that we're happy we did. It's not something we necessarily would do again, but we're happy it's on our list of places to check off.
We've been there.
Yep.
Okay, from Florence, we took a train down to Bari to spend time in Puglia, and did not disappoint. Now,
No. Oh my gosh,
we were
that.
so done fast traveling, editing, doing our YouTube thing, that by the time we got there, we decided to put the cameras away, and we're going to spend 4 nights down there and not film anything, and we don't regret it.
We don't. I think that the part that we regret is because we would have liked to have, we enjoy having some of our footage just to go back for memories for ourselves to go watch, and we don't have that
Right.
because it really kind of blew us away. It was an absolutely beautiful area.
Yeah, we'd recommend it. Get some white wine while you're there because they're known for their white wine. But 4 nights in Puglia cost us $738.
And we had a great Airbnb. Came with a few hiccups, but other than that, it was fine. Great location, right next to the train station, like literally like right across the street from the train station.
Yeah, if you plan on doing any day trips while you're there, it's a perfect location to jump on the bus or the train.
Really great. So now we hop on a train and we head from the Puglia area over to Tropea, another place that had come highly recommended for us to stop through, and it worked perfect because it was right on a path heading to where we were going. We spent 2 nights there in Tropea, and it was absolutely a beautiful area. Just kind of, after spending so much time in Florence and being inland, and which is very beautiful, but then being on the water was really nice.
Yeah, we enjoyed being on the water for sure. Now, the weather wasn't perfect as far as the heat. It was starting to cool down that time of year, so we didn't hit the beach.
No.
But we didn't need to.
No.
It was a gorgeous place. We had a little rooftop boutique hotel we stayed in. With breakfast on the balcony. You could look over everything. So it was quite memorable. You won't see it because we didn't film it.
We also took a break during there.
But we had a good time.
Yeah. Now our costs for this point, and a little bit of this was because our train ticket from getting to Bari to Tropea is a pretty long train ride. So the cost for 2 nights in Tropea was $463.
Okay, from there we moved on down the coast into Sicily to stay in Palermo. Now, if you've watched any of our Palermo videos, you might have noticed that I kept mispronouncing Palermo for Palermo. So I know how it's pronounced, and now I'm going to get it right throughout this total segment.
He's going to say it a lot. Palermo.
Palermo.
So we were in Palermo for 21 days. We cut our time short there because we needed to save extra days back in the Schengen, which you'll see later when we give you that information. But anyway, so we were 21 days. We really loved our Airbnb, which was kind of saving grace because we weren't really a fan of Palermo. But we did spend $1,860 because even though we cut our time short, we still did have the full month that we had paid
We had
for.
to eat that last few days,
Okay, so now we have been in Italy for about 2.5 months. We are kind of over it, ready to move on, and we are heading to Turkey, which we had been so excited to go and visit. So we caught a flight from Palermo down to Rome and then to Istanbul, and that was $178.
Yeah, and now this has been on our bucket list for a while. We were going to try and get there last year, didn't work out, so we made a point of getting there this year. We had to get out of the Schengen anyway, so it worked out perfect.
Location to do that.
Istanbul is amazing.
It's amazing. And another thing that I would add right into that before we even get into the other is now there is not requirement for U.S. passports for a visa. So you don't have to apply ahead of time, which is great because that's just another step.
Right.
Not that it was very expensive, but it's just another step. And you get 90 days out of every 180. So kind of like Schengen, but you get that in Turkey. So
You can
that's
go back
really
and
awesome.
forth, so it works out.
Yeah, you can hop back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we loved Istanbul.
We loved Istanbul for 25 days. We spent $2,144.
Yeah, so it was a little bit more, but we got a really great Airbnb.
Yeah.
We loved it. Great host in a really, really nice neighborhood and really accessible to everything. So once again, you pay the price when you do that. You can
That also counts our cab rides to and from the airport,
which weren't cheap.
Weren't cheap. So that includes that as well.
Once again, we are heading to a bucket list destination, a place where a lot of people just see the pictures of, and we are excited to just now be able to say we'd been there. We head to Cappadocia. Now, we spent $86 to fly there, which really wasn't bad. It was like an hour and some flight.
It's an hour and some flight. Now, it's about a 45-minute van ride to your accommodations wherever you're staying in the Cappadocia region.
Yeah.
So this includes that price as well. And I highly suggest you book that with whomever you're staying with before you go. It'll just make life easier.
Yeah.
The price we spent in Cappadocia was $1,401.
Right. So a little bit more. We were there for 11 nights. We stayed in 2 different towns in Cappadocia, which if you have the time, we kind of highly recommend doing because your viewpoint and the towns are just so cute and fun. And this also did include, we went on a excursion, which also is kind of necessary to do when you're there because there's a lot of things to see in Cappadocia well beyond the hot air balloons. And so we did go and be able to see the underground caves and
I got claustrophobic in those underground caves. That was a video too. You couldn't see my fear
because
on camera. But it was
the lights went out. That's why you couldn't see it. Yeah, no, but that was a lot of fun, and so all of those costs are in there. But once again, sometimes those bucket list destinations cost a little bit more to visit.
Yeah.
Next, we head to the coast, which we were super excited for, to the city of Antalya. We took a bus from Cappadocia, which was about a 10-hour to 11-hour bus ride. It's a very long bus ride, but it actually ended up being fine. It just ended up being the perfect way to get there.
Right. Well, we left at 1 o'clock in the morning, so a lot of that time was spent trying to sleep.
Yeah.
So, but we had a great time. Now, Antalya isn't a place where you need to stay a month, but if you want to, it works out beautifully because they've got great grocery stores, they've got great scenery, everything that you might need for your daily living, you'll find in Antalya.
Right.
And I would go back. As a matter of fact, we are going to go back later on this year.
Yeah, we'll let you know all those plans.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
But the time we spent in Antalya cost us $1,997.
Yeah, and really for 30 days, I don't know, we felt like we lived well there. Like I said, it kind of had everything we wanted. If you want to know where Antalya ranks on our level over the past year of all the places we've been in 2023, watch our video that we put out about that because you'll see where it ranks.
You'll see where it ranks. And just to put it into perspective, a lot of British expats choose Antalya to spend an extended period of time, and I can understand why.
It you know, as much as you say it's not a place that you necessarily need to go to for 30 days as a vacation, obviously, but it is a place that a lot of people go and settle down, and we can see the reason why that is. So now it's time to start to make our adventure back home. It's going to take us a little bit longer this time for good reason, and so we fly from Antalya to Rome, and that was $159.
Yeah, $159. And for the 2 nights that we spent in Rome, this is going to sound like a lot. We spent $508, and I'll allow Carrie to tell you what we spent that extra money on because it still irritates me a little bit, to be quite honest.
Just a little bit, yeah. So our luggage got lost because we were at the gate. They made us check it when we were coming from Antalya with a guarantee that it was going to arrive no problem.
No problem.
Problem. The other problem is that we are in Rome because we are boarding a cruise to come home on in 2 days. And so unfortunately our luggage did not show up until the morning of the cruise. And so our only option, they couldn't get it to us, so the only option was for us to go to the airport. So almost $200 of this cost that we just gave you of $508 was for a taxi ride to the airport and a taxi ride to the cruise terminal on the morning of the cruise. So, you know, it's just sometimes those costs that you just have to eat because you want your luggage. They said they could get it to us in the next port or the first port we were at. If you trust that, good on you. We weren't going to trust that.
No, and I'm going to write an email to Turkish Airlines and let them know how disappointed I am.
So disappointed. Yeah. Unfortunately, for everybody who wants to tell us that we have recourse of, you know, you have to really decide the cost amount and how much time you're willing to put into it. So sometimes you just have to eat that. So, but back to Rome, we loved Rome. We wish that we would have been able to enjoy Rome because a little bit of money that's also in those costs is a couple items we had to buy while we were shopping because we had no clothes other than what was on our back.
And it was pouring down rain.
Yeah, it was
miserable. And it was something that we had to do, so we had to buy pants and some sweatshirts.
So Rome, we will come back and see you another day because we didn't really get to enjoy you fully.
So to get home from Rome, we decided to take a repositioning cruise. We put that video out a couple weeks ago, so if you've seen it, great. If you haven't, go check it out. It's a 16-night cruise, and it cost us $1,904.
Yeah. No, for us, we just really wanted to test the waters on this one because we had just recently learned about a repositioning cruise.
Is that a cruise ship joke? Test the waters?
That's yeah, dad joke.
No pun intended.
Yeah, not intended by me at all. But anyways, we just really wanted to see what it was like, what it included. Would we see that as another form of transportation? Because you can do these transatlantic, you can do them trans-Pacific.
Yeah.
And so anyways, yeah, we kind of weighed the pros and cons of it. So we're glad we did it, and we may do it again in the future.
Yeah.
So the ship brought us into Florida, and we needed to now get home. So we flew from Tampa Bay actually to Seattle, and that was $298, which honestly, being back in the States and having a domestic flight, anybody who flies throughout the United States knows how expensive it can be. We were happy with $298.
Yeah, we flew across the country one way direct for $298. We were thrilled. So we arrived back in Bellingham on the 18th of December, and to finish out the year, we spent $500.
Yeah, we rolled right into the holidays, so we didn't have to spend a whole lot, and we typically were doing house sits. So, all right, so now to break down those final costs, like the totals for you, because that's what everybody's waiting for. I'm going to look at my numbers because they're big numbers. All right, so for our total cost for the year of travel, not including our flights, was $29,319. Now the flight costs for both of us, like we said, these are included for both of us, was $4,649. So that kept us in our budget of flight costs as well. So that was really good. So the total cost for our travels for the entire year of 2023 was $33,968.
Now that is above our budget. We thought we were saving money the first half of the year. We overspent in Italy. Now we understand why. We overspent on our fast travel. We're not going to do any more fast traveling. We're done with that. So that breaks down to $16,984 a person.
Right. So, you know, we've had a lot of comments from people that are solo travelers, and we absolutely get that. We are able to share accommodation costs. We are able to share, but honestly, really, the only thing we're sharing is accommodation costs.
Yeah.
And you can really find accommodations, especially in Southeast Asia, for less than we spent, and have it be way less. So I just kind of feel like, you know, if you take out the accommodations out of the mix, your flight's going to be no different, your bus rides, everything,
food,
you know, your food and all of that.
Right.
So I still do think it's absolutely affordable. So our per person cost per day was $46.53, which does keep us kind of in our budget range that we like to be. We would like our yearly costs per person to be closer to $15,000. So when we say we exceeded, we did exceed by a little bit, but we're okay with it because we sure did see a lot this last year.
We saw a lot. Now, we're also going to get the comment that says, you know, I couldn't do what you did, and that might be true, but I also think there's some people out there that could do it for even less if they really wanted to.
Yeah.
Now that price also includes our medical coverage. For both of us, we spent $3,155 this year on medical insurance.
Yeah, so that's included in that total price there. Just wanted you to know that's also in there. The one thing that is not included in this price is we did go, and the main reason we did include it is because this is an area that is going to be so person specific.
Right.
We decided to go have a medical checkup when we were in Thailand. My cost for that was $240, and Brian's cost, because he also chose to have a colonoscopy, was $1,080.
I didn't choose to. I was told to.
He's to that age where you need to have it.
I never choose to have a colonoscopy.
No, but important, and it was good. It went well.
Everything went well. Thank you for asking.
So anyway, so those costs are not in there, but you know, if you're interested in that, you can also check out that information. So we hope this is helpful. I know for us, when we would see a breakdown video of what people spent just on travel alone, let alone an entire year of travel, something that seems so not accessible because you build up in your head what it's going to cost you to do it, and then see what it truly costs, it just really makes it like, oh my gosh, we could do this.
We could do this. Yeah, you know, if we can do it, so can you.
Right.
There are going to be those of you that say that they couldn't do it for that little. There are also going to be those that say we could do it for a lot less. So this is very individual on how you like to travel.
Right.
For us, this is how we like to travel, and this is how much we spent.
Yeah. So we are excited to be wrapping up our 2024 plans, which we are going to be doing just a Thursday video probably to just share those with you and let you know what our plans for 2024 are. Like Brian mentioned, probably is going to include Turkey in there, but we'll give you the final details on that. So we hope this is helpful.
Yep.
All right.
Cheers.
Cheers.